All right, today I'm supposed to send out progress reports to your parents about how you're doing. And I have to say, overall, I think you all are doing a fantastic job. Over the course of the last 2 weeks, I've assigned 7 different topics for you to do in IXL, and most of you have done all 7, or at least have done 5 to 6 out of the 7. And what's really fantastic is some of you have done all 7 and got hundreds on every single one of them. That's really great. Okay, originally I wanted to stop today and give you a quiz on this stuff, but I think I'm going to wait on that until Monday. Okay, because in evaluating what I looked at today on IXL, it seems like a lot of you are still having trouble with the very last topic, number 19, subtracting mixed numerals. And I got a feeling it has something to do with borrowing. So I thought it might be good to send you one more video on how to subtract mixed numerals, okay, just to give you a little bit more practice, especially on the borrowing, which borrowing is hard, but if you use the shortcut, it makes it a lot easier. So again, let's just look at a couple examples. Let's look at this one, 7 1/10 minus 2 5/6. Now again, the first thing I have to do here is I have to find a common denominator for 10 and 6. And again, I don't just multiply 6 times 10 is 60. That'll give you a common denominator, but most of the time, or a lot of time, it won't be the least common denominator. So to get the least common denominator, which will be the easiest one to work with, you take the biggest denominator, which here is 10, and you list the 10 times table until you find something that 6 goes into. 10 times 1 is 10. Does 6 go into that? No. 10 times 2 is 20. Does 6 go into that? No. 10 times 3 is 30. Does 6 go into that? Ding, 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 ding. Your common denominator is 30. Now again, I bring my whole numbers over in subtraction. I don't do that in addition, and the reason I bring it over in subtraction is in case you have to borrow. Because if you have to borrow, the main thing people do wrong is when they borrow, they don't borrow. And what does that mean? When they borrow, they don't borrow. It means they don't cross out the whole number and make it one less. So if you bring the whole number over, you'll be less likely to forget about it. So anyway, those are the whole numbers, and now the common denominator is going to be 30. And now I can divide 10 into 30 goes 3 times. 3 times 1 is 3. 6 into 30 goes 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. Can I take 25 away from 3? No, so I have to borrow. And again, here's where I think some of you are having the trouble. All right, now what's really happening when you borrow from the 7 and make it a 6. And you borrowed 1 whole. And you have to add that 1 that you borrowed plus the 3/30ths that's already there. And you can make 1 into any number over itself, 1 over 1, 2 over 2, 3 over 3, a million over a million. But the best thing to make it is 30 over 30. Because now you'd have a common denominator of 30. And you could add 30/30ths plus 3/30ths equals 33/30ths. So when you borrow 1 from the 7 and make it a 6, the 3 becomes 33. Now again, this is what's really happening, but this is not what you have to do if you use the shortcut. If you use the shortcut, you can skip this altogether and just add the denominator plus the numerator will give you the new numerator. So 30 was your denominator plus 3 is your numerator, gives you 33 as your new numerator. And again, one problem people have is they add numerator plus numerator to get new numerator. That won't work. But the shortcut is add the denominator plus the numerator will give you the new numerator. Now I can subtract my numerators. 33 minus 25, you might have to, when in doubt, work that out. Borrow from the 3 and make it a 2. 13 minus 5 is 8. I get 8/30ths. And then 6 minus 2 is 4. And what would be really, really a shame is if you got to this point and you stop. Because if you got to this point and stopped, you did everything right. But in my class, this would be wrong. Now I found out on IXL, it's most probably right. So on IXL, you could leave your answer like this. But when you take a quiz from me on Monday, okay, if you don't simplify, it's not going to be right. So I think Catherine Trimber's mom told me that what Catherine does is she simplifies it on her scratch work, but she doesn't simplify it when she enters it in to IXL. But anyway, it can be simplified. What goes into both 8 and to 30? Let's see, they're both even numbers, and 2 goes into all even numbers. So 2 goes into 8 4 times, and if you divide 2 into 30, it goes once, remainder 1, and 5 times, remainder 0. So it's 4 and 4/15. And again, there are 5 steps whenever you subtract mixed numerals. 1, find the right common denominator. 2, find the missing numerator. 3, subtract the whole numbers in the numerators, keep the denominators same, and you might have to borrow. 4, make sure it's proper, which it almost always will be. And 5, make sure it's simplified. And again, on IXL, I don't think they want you to simplify. I have no idea why they don't. You should always simplify. But again, if you want to get a good grade on IXL, maybe you leave it where you don't simplify it. I don't understand that at all. Anyway, let's go over another example, just so that you make sure you have enough practice at it. If I had something like this, 4 and 5/8 minus 2 and 7/12. Okay, now if I want to subtract, the first thing I have to do is find the common denominator for 8 and 12. Now again, if you don't know it, you pick the biggest denominator, which is 12, and you list the 12 times table until you find something that 8 goes into evenly. 12 times 1 is 12. Does 8 go into that? No. 12 times 2 is 24. Does 8 go into that? Yes. Ding, 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 ding. The common denominator is 24. And again, I bring over my whole numbers in case I have to borrow. And now I have to find the missing numerator for 24. 8 goes into 24 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. 12 goes into 24 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14. Now look, this time I didn't have to borrow. 15 minus 14 is 1/24, and 4 minus 2 is 2. And again, is it proper? Yes. 1 is smaller than 24. Is it simplified? Yes. And this is your right answer. So this was a simple example. I'm sorry I gave you a simple one. I would have rather given you a hard one. But you know what? On IXL, I think some of them are easy and some of them are simple. But again, I think the thing that causes people the most trouble is borrowing. I will show you one other kind that you have to borrow in that sometimes people have trouble with, and it would be one like this. Again, if I had a whole number minus a mixed numeral, how can I take a mixed numeral away from a whole number if I don't have anything here to take it away from? You guessed it, borrow. Cross out the 7 and make it a 6. Now, I can write the 1, not as the whole number 1, but as a fraction, as 1/1, 2/2, 3/3, any number over itself. But the best thing to make it would be 15/15. And why 15/15? Because the common denominator would be 15 if you did that, because this denominator is already 15. So if you make this denominator 15 also, you have a common denominator. Now you can subtract. 15 minus 5 is 10/15, and 6 minus 2 is 4. Okay? Now, is it proper? Yes. 10 is less than 15. Is it simplified? No. Because something goes into 10 and 15 evenly. What goes in both 10 and 15 evenly? 5. 5 goes into 10 2 times, 5 goes into 15 3 times. And your right answer would be 4 2/3. Again, on IXL, maybe you shouldn't simplify. But when you take a quiz from me on Monday, you need to simplify. So my right answer is 4 2/3. Believe it or not, the most common wrong answer is not because they forget to simplify. The most common wrong answer is because instead of 4 2/3, they give me 5 2/3. And why would they give me 5 2/3? Because when they borrow to put 15/15ths here, they don't cross out the 7 and make it a 6. It's very easy to know to put 15/15ths here if there's nothing there by looking at this denominator and making the numerator and denominator the same. But you have to realize you can't just put 15/15ths here. You got to get it from somewhere. And you get it from the 7 when you borrow and make it a 6. So your right answer is 4 2/3. I hope this helps you with that last lesson, number 19. And again, I planned on giving you a quiz today, but I think that y'all did a great job of working this week. I know from talking to some of the parents, they're stressed. I know I'm stressed. So you're most probably stressed too. So maybe you need an easy day. Just go back and try to finish up lesson 19 and then take the weekend off and enjoy it. By the way, if you're one of those people who got hundreds on every single one so far, or even 90s or hundreds, take a day off. You deserve it. All right? Good luck.